Okay, let's dive into one of the biggest puzzles in human psychology: motivation. We're going to unpack what really, truly drives us, and more importantly, why our best efforts to motivate people, including ourselves, can sometimes go completely sideways.
So think about this for a second. It's a classic paradox, right? You absolutely love to do something, maybe it's drawing or playing an instrument, then someone offers to pay you for it, and suddenly all the joy just evaporates. It feels like a chore. This isn't just in your head, it's a real psychological thing that has totally stumped people for decades.
So, what's the secret? Well, it's not actually about the reward itself. It's about the hidden meaning our brain gives that reward. It all comes down to how we internally size up what's happening. And luckily for us, there's a really powerful theory that helps us crack this code. And that brings us to something called cognitive evaluation theory, or CET for short. This was actually the very first big idea inside the much larger self-determination theory. And its core insight is simple, but wow, is it profound. It's not the event itself that matters most, but what we believe the purpose of that event is. So, what are these hidden meanings? Well, CET boils it down to three main things. Whenever you're faced with an event, a reward, a deadline, whatever, you're subconsciously asking yourself one of three questions. One, is this trying to control me, to pressure me? Two, is this giving me useful feedback about how I'm doing? Or three, is this basically telling me I'm not good enough? The answer to that question changes everything. And this is where it gets super practical. Just look at how the exact same thing, a reward, can have totally opposite effects. A big, high-stakes prize, that feels controlling. It shifts your focus from the fun of doing it to the pressure of winning, and boom, your natural motivation just tanks. But what about sincere praise? Well, that's informational. It tells you, hey, you're good at this, and that boosts your motivation. And then you've got something like a consolation prize, which can feel amotivating, like a signal that you failed, and that just crushes your drive. Same tool, totally different results. But here's the thing. This idea is so much bigger than just getting a bonus or a gold star. The theory quickly grew to explain the entire psychological climate we live and work in, from the office to the classroom and, yeah, even inside our own heads. This same filter of controlling, informational, or emotivating applies to the whole picture. Is your work environment all about pressure and control, or is it about feedback and growth? Is your manager's style dictatorial, or is it empowering? And maybe most surprisingly, this applies to the way we talk to ourselves. And that leads to this powerful quote. I mean, how true is that? We can be our own worst bosses. We give ourselves these controlling deadlines, we pressure ourselves with thoughts like, I have to get this right, and we completely undermine our own motivation in the process. The environment we create in our heads is just as real as the one outside. So, this huge insight from CET didn't just stay a little theory about rewards, it evolved. It actually became the blueprint for a really practical way to understand different motivating styles, something that's often called the dual process model. Now, this model shows us there are two very different paths you can take. On one side, you've got the autonomy supportive style. This is all about empathy, seeing things from the other person's perspective, explaining the why behind a request, offering choices. And on the other side, you've got the controlling style. This is the opposite. It's all about pressure, demands, and just forcing people to comply. And what's really fascinating is that research shows these are two separate things, not just two ends of a ruler. And the outcomes of these two paths, they couldn't be more different. An autonomy-supportive approach fuels what you might call the brighter side of motivation. It leads to real engagement, deep learning, and a sense of well-being. A controlling style, well, that fires up the darker side. It leads to defiance, frustration, and eventually burnout. Okay, so this brings up a really, really important question. What about other stuff we think of as good, like providing clear instructions, or setting goals, or even just showing that you care? I mean, that's always a good thing for motivation, right? Well, that's a great question because this is where the research throws a fascinating curveball. It turns out that even things that seem universally positive, like providing structure, can totally backfire. The key factor isn't what you do, it's how you do it. And here it is. This is probably the single most important takeaway from this entire explainer. Things like providing structure, giving guidance, or showing you're involved, they only work, they only build motivation when they are done in an autonomy-supportive way. Autonomy support isn't just another nice thing to do. It's the foundational ingredient that makes all the other good stuff actually work. This really shows how the whole way of thinking has evolved. The old view kind of saw these as three separate pillars. You need autonomy support, you need structure, and you need involvement. But the new insight, which goes all the way back to CET, is that autonomy support isn't just a pillar, it's the ground everything else has to be built on. Structure without autonomy is just control. Involvement without autonomy feels like pressure. You have to lead with autonomy support. All right, so let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Number 1, the hidden psychological meaning of something is way more important than the thing itself. Number 2, always ask that question, is this controlling, is it informational, or is it amotivating? Number 3, remember this applies to everything, rewards, the people around you, and even your own self-talk. And finally, the big one, if you really want to motivate people or yourself, you have to lead with autonomy support. It's the key. So as we finish up, I'll leave you with this to think about. Look back on your past week. Can you think of one situation at work, at home, with your team, maybe even just a goal you set for yourself, where you could have been just a little more autonomy supportive, maybe by explaining the why or offering a choice? Think about it. It might just change how things play out next time.